Ridge Records fans everywhere, welcome to the Week 16 preview. That was the second week of the playoffs as we head into the third and final week of the 2022 season. We have a whole bunch of comments for you tonight and stuff to talk about. So, without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Before we go any further, however, we need to start with the disclaimer. This is a comedy. Okay? The opinions expressed herein are probably not my own, nor the individual even making the comment at the time. If you are my employer, a future employer, a previous employer, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker, someone I know, nobody I know, and you're offended by this, stop watching. Okay? If you're easily offended, if you need safe places, if you consider yourself to be a snowflake or someone that the world gives a shit about, this video is not for you. We're here to talk trash, sometimes say intelligent things, and talk about fantasy football. So again, if you find yourself offended by this, it's a comedy. Get over it. So, since we got the disclaimer out of the way, and before we get into the scores from Week 16, this week's brought to you by Crown Royal. Because if you don't drink Crown Royal, you're a fucking loser. That being said, Week 16 results had Social Justice Warrior destroying Avoid the Noid, who came up limp, 109 to 92 points. Missing My Young Ho put up a respectable 132 points, but was not enough to stop the Grand Poobah of Misery, Suckadicka, putting up 141. In the number 5th place championship game and for the number 7th round draft pick, Dynasty Reimagined defeated the Booty Lickers, unfortunately, 114.46 to 110.94 points. That's a difference of 3.52 points. Pretty tight game. Congratulations to the commissioner, Dynasty Reimagined, for finishing this season in 5th place. That pained me to say that. In the losers bracket, the media put up the week's high score for 144.36 points, defeating Nut and Buttsacks, who put up the league low for the week, 70.04 points. That's freaking embarrassing. Jags beat out Gender Unicorn, refusing to have their gender reassigned, 107 to 96 points. And in the 11th place game for the losers trophy, I can't believe it, Your Worst Nightmare played the Roster Baiters and lost 84.42 points to the Roster Baiters' 84.62 points. That's a difference of 0.2 points. That's insanely close. The only thing smaller than that is the Roster Baiters' Ditka. That sounded a lot better in my head. All right. So Week 17, the final week in the 2022 season. I almost get a tear in my eye thinking about the fact that we're almost done. But, Social Justice Warrior goes up against Suckadicka. That's going to be a good game. Both teams could have put up monster points. Suckadicka, like Bill Cosby, has silently and stealthily invaded the championship game. No one saw this coming. Jello? Anybody? That's for the first place and the number 12th draft pick. Missing My Young Ho plays Avoid the Noid, also a very good game. Third place and number 9 draft pick. The media goes up against Jags. This is a big one. That's for 7th place overall and the number 1 draft pick in the 2023 draft. And Nut and Buttsacks goes up against Gender Unicorn for 9th place in the number 3 draft position. So, don't tell anybody, but I'm going to spank Jags like they're a newborn baby and I'm trying to get them to cry a little bit. Or a really kinky girl and it's a Saturday night and we've been drinking Red Bull vodkas. Do people drink Red Bull vodkas anymore? Whatever the new hipster drink is. You know what I mean? Now we're going to get into the comments, which is really what you all came here for. Now listen, I don't have these in any particular order. I probably would, but I'm in a hurry. We're already behind on the production schedule. Although fantasy football is the only thing that matters in my life, yeah, apparently other people have other priorities, and I just had to get in line. So, first off, I met with the Booty Lickers, who suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of our commissioner last weekend. This is what he had to say, and he is now on suicide watch. The Booty Lickers season came to a screeching halt this week as you lost to the commissioner. Wow, you know what? He actually didn't even give me a comment. That was my comment to him. Dude had nothing to say. He's probably still crying. Nah. Speaking of bankers and shitty people in general, Jax Jags had this to say about the upcoming matchup with me, the media. This will be my easiest win yet. Looking forward to the first pick in next year's draft. Short, sweet, like his dick. Team owner of Avoid the Noid had this to say after their loss, unfortunately, to Social Justice Warrior this week. Well, I appreciate your journalistic integrity. Nobody gives a shit about what I have to say to my shitty team about their shitty performance. So on that note, I'm going to have a shitty pity party for myself, sponsored by none other than, you've guessed it, Pizza Hut. There you go. Team owner Missing My Young Ho, who's going up against Avoid the Noid this week, had this to say about his loss to Sucka Ditka. Sorry I haven't been able to respond. The fraudulent pharma ruined my Christmas, then gave my family the Rona even though we've been wearing bags of IV booster all playoffs. That'd be funny, except it's probably true. Then I somehow get a stomach bug worse than the Domino's party. Ugh. Have a feeling the Noid did that, so the answer to your question on how I'm getting out of bed is, I'm not. But on a side note, everyone's handling the illnesses so far, and my youngest one has managed to avoid everything somehow. Clearly, the youngest one has a different genetic makeup than none other than team owner of Missing My Young Ho. Sorry, Milkman, or Booty Lickers. All right, team owner Sucka Ditka had this to say after his victory and prior to heading into the championship bowl this week against Social Justice Warrior. Team Ditka is extremely happy with their playoff performance up to this point. Eliminating the artist formerly known as Dynasty Reimagined from the playoffs and slapping my Ditka all over the bald head of our unethical commissioner was still the highlight of my season. Also the highlight of my season. But sliding my Ditka between each of those crooked toes was a very close second. I've taken down an unethical commissioner, a crooked engineer with the same beard as Chaz Bono, and now it's time to set my sights on Social Justice Warrior. I don't care how many Antifa protesters show up at Ditka headquarters this week, they won't be able to stop the justified Ditka slapping that will be happening by the end of this weekend. Pound, no Ditka, no peace. Pound, hands up, don't Ditka smack. Pound that. I'm going to close almost with the owner of Social Justice Warrior, who says this about the upcoming matchup. It's going to be tough. It seems like I've shown the league that tanking is possible. A lot of bad teams in the league right now with lots of draft picks for next year. I just want to be remembered as the first to utilize this strategy, but it doesn't really matter if I'm not able to win this year. I'll be rubbing the Losers Trophy extensively this weekend as I watch my team try to deliver one final wave of social justice to this league. I hope you lose. So, for the viewers who don't recall, last season, the team owner of Social Justice Warrior sold his soul and almost every single player he had for draft picks, hoping and gambling on the 2022 season, and it appears like that shit has worked off. Just drink whiskey. Winners here. I want to leave you with the final comment from the biggest loser this league has ever had, and the only true dynasty in the Ridgerockers League, none other than the team owner of your worst nightmare. My plans are to celebrate having my well-earned trophy back on the mantle where it belongs. The fantasy football gods were brutal to my team this year, so who are we going to celebrate the trophy in the end of a miserable year? As far as who am I rooting for, or if I'm reading word for word, who am I routing for? It's time for the Ditka to slap the social justice out of that warrior. So there you have it. Social Justice Warrior, even your worst nightmare is rooting against you. So you may be a real hero in life, but in this league, you're nothing but a loser. Don't forget that. And your first mom agrees with me. Well, there you have it, fans. That's the end of another week's recap video. And when we meet next week, it'll be the last one in the 2022 season. So remember, even though fantasy football is coming to an end, you can still talk all about it to your neighbors who don't give a shit. And your significant other really doesn't give a shit. So go ahead and ignore her while you're at it. Because in the end, fantasy football is really all that matters. Talk trash, beat your neighbor. War Damn Eagle.